Oh yeah.
Just watch it.
No, that's not. Tell you. That's a land.
اتعلم ان شاء الله. علمه انجليزي ان شاء الله.
I explain to him.
Yeah.
If you want to read it with me, while I read it, I can. Inshallah.
Originally from Connecticut.
I used to work in some of these
Say 3 minutes.
Yeah. That's where I used to work when I was 15 years old.
I had water one from.
we had
Windsor.
I had water one from.
Enfield, there's a whole lot of those one. Windsor, I stayed in Windsor. There was no comes up at twice. Last time we planted. Yeah, we saw how it rolled. Yeah, it's different than the back of here. This back of here is a cigarette. But here up there is cigar wrappers. So you have to maintain the leaf. Here it's just grabbing the crop and you know, you grab it and it goes in. But that you gotta wrap and stuff. It's an amazing operation.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. So continuing on, inshallah, we're only going to take 15 minutes of your time. I know it's very valuable. It's Friday night. Everybody wants to go home, spend some time with their families. So it'll be 15 minutes, but Muslim time, inshallah. So, you know, half an hour, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, right? Inshallah. So, and whoever wants to leave can leave, inshallah, you know. Hopefully the brother's recording everything. Maybe we can upload the video, maybe link it to the masjid website, inshallah, put it on Facebook. So, inshallah, what it contains of benefit, brothers and sisters, inshallah, can benefit. Shaykh Ahmed, can we do the projector again? Inshallah. You know what the scholars used to do? The scholars in Islam, the big muhaddithin, the big scholars of hadith. If there was a student who was traveling to go meet, for example, Imam Bukhari or Karima bint Marwaziyah, who actually is one of the great women scholars of hadith. She spent continuous days to read Sahih Bukhari to her scholars. So, and this is what the students of knowledge would do. They would travel, for example, to Baghdad to meet Imam Bukhari, or travel to Naysabur to meet Imam Muslim, or travel to Sijistan to meet Abu Dawood. And they would spend the night there reading hadith all night. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, until they were done. And then they would go back home to their students and then teach their students in a similar way. So if we spend all night until Fajr, inshallah, learning, I don't think you guys will have a problem with it, huh? Inshallah. No, but only 15 minutes, inshallah. Huh? So let's summarize. Alhamdulillah, we were starting off talking about what is da'wah. We learned about the importance of giving da'wah. All of us know these things, but فَذَكِّرْ فَإِنَّ الذِّكْرَ تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, right? The reminder benefits the believers, inshallah. So, we also found out and were reminded about those who are trying to avert people from learning more about Islam, the Islamophobes, the movement, who's funding the movement, who's promoting the movement in the media, which media outlets should we be wary about, directing people to and guiding people to. So now, let's think. Now we're getting to the really juicy stuff, the practical stuff. What is the solution? What is the solution? Alhamdulillah, we've talked about some solutions now, right? Engaging the people, talking with the people, being visible for the people, being approachable. Being approachable. You don't have to be a big scholar to give dawah. All you have to do is be approachable. Be there. Show the people that I'm a Muslim, and they'll come to you naturally and most likely ask you questions. Do something out of the ordinary from the Sunnah. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what would he do? What was from the Sunnah of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? He said, if you cook soup, then put more water in it, so that it can be more, so that you can give it to your neighbor. Anytime you cook, you have a nice dinner, put it in a nice plate, give it to your neighbor. This can open a conversation, this can spark a conversation with your neighbor so that they can maybe be interested about learning more in Islam. So what is the solution to some of the problems and some of the things that we discussed? Number two, what are we doing? Alhamdulillah, many of us were doing a lot, but we need to be doing more. And is the situation that we're in now with this Islamophobia and the hatred and the fear which is present in our society here in America, is it anyone's fault? Is it our fault? Is it someone else's fault? So basically it all goes back to what? Ignorance and lack of awareness. Because lack of awareness and ignorance leads to what? Fear. When you don't know about something. For example, why are so many people scared of death?
They never die.
They don't know what's going to happen. You don't know. You might read hadith and read Quran and read ayah and read about what happens when we die, the process. But you've never experienced anything like that in your life. So you may be scared. So what can we do to increase, right, Islamic awareness and remove ignorance and fear of Islam that people may have among or against the Muslims? Okay, so what I wanted to get to now, okay, the tools, the dawah tools, important point, stages of dawah. Okay, the stages of dawah. If the community here in North Carolina, we've looked at our situation here, we have a lot of potential to give dawah. Now we need to plan, okay, which is the first thing. Okay, we need to organize, we need to coordinate. What can we do to give dawah? Who is the audience that we want to target first with our first trial in this dawah project we want to do? We want to target students in the university. We want to target, for example, Christians, for example. We want to target co-workers, factory workers. We want to target people who work at a grocery store. Who is your target audience? That's the first thing that we need to determine when we want to give dawah. So it takes planning, it takes organization, and it takes what? Strategy. Okay? Number two. Okay, so where do I get this from? Do we have anything about this? Like, when the Prophet Muhammad was giving dawah, how did he start off giving dawah? Privately, right?
Yeah.
For how many years? 3 years. Then, once he had his tight knit of companions, those who he could trust 100%, those he believed in, those who believed in him, those who were his what? Supporters. Then, after Umar radiallahu anhu accepted Islam, then Islam started to be promoted what? Publicly. So, when we want to plan first in giving dawah, it can be on a small scale, it can be on a big scale. If you want to do it on a small scale, maybe there's students at the university, college, what is it, UCNC or something like that? Central. NCC, college. Maybe there's students, is there an MSA there?
Yes.
If there's an MSA there, the students should get together, they should meet. Let's do quarterly lecture about Islam. Let's invite Islamic speakers from the masjid, Ibadur Rahman, to come and talk, have an open conversation about Islam. Islam factor versus fiction or something like that with a dinner. If there's brothers here in the community, maybe the community, they said, well, we're not ready to give dawah now. But there's 10 brothers, 5 brothers in the community who says, I'm ready. I got the money, we just need the manpower. And they want to do their own little thing, right? It takes planning, it takes organization. Okay? Muslims are people who, if we follow and practice Islam, our lives should be organized. We should plan. We should strategize. I mean, the 5 daily prayers, that is the biggest proof that our lives should be what? Should be organized. Okay? Second thing, the public. Okay, then when we take our message public, there has to be a unity of the message that we are propagating. You can't have one message propagating one type of ideology or one type of school of thought in regards to creed, and then another message up the street promoting another ideology, okay, which is foreign to Islam, which wasn't known in the first 3 generations of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ with the companions. So it has to be one Islam, and the message has to be united. If it's not united, you're going to confuse not only Muslims, you're going to confuse non-Muslims as well. They're going to say, well, hey, this masjid, their adhan is different than this masjid here. Or this masjid here, I went and I listened to a lecture about creed, but they're saying something different than what the Muslims in that masjid are saying. So then you're causing more confusion than you are causing people to be what? Curious and be attracted about Islam. Follow up, okay? It needs follow up too. Reinforcement and support, okay? This is something which many of us as Muslims in our communities need to realize and be reminded about. Especially with our imams and our religious guides and religious leaders and things like this. Many communities, when they have an imam, they want the imam to be a superman. They want the imam to do everything. They throw everything on his shoulders. Lead the 5 prayers, give the khutbah, do durus every day, do tahfidh al-Quran, do da'wah to non-Muslims, be the speaker if the media comes, publish articles on the website, and he has a family at home. So our masajid, we need to find people who are more specialized. We need to start specializing in certain aspects of the religion. We have one imam, alhamdulillah, he can pray, he leads the 5 prayers, occasionally give a khutbah. Another brother, he's in charge of giving da'wah. He's in charge of talking with the media. Not everybody can talk with the media, with the TV, with the radio, with the newspaper. You have to be trained to do that. Another brother, he's in charge of talking with new people who are interested in Islam. He's in charge of doing the classes for the new Muslims. Right? A community cannot expect one individual to do all of these things. This is oppression. So we need to have specialized brothers and sisters who will dedicate some of their time to learn some of these things that are needed in our communities. And also, da'wah needs what? It needs financial support. Da'wah needs financial support. Da'wah is not just going to move without some type of financial support behind it. Okay? Even in the time of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, the Prophet would do fundraisers. Did the Prophet do fundraising or no? Many imams now, they're hesitant to do fundraising because they say, oh, it wasn't from the practice of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Many occasions the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ did fundraising. One occasion, in a hadith which is narrated in Sahih Muslim, a man came and he gave charity and placed it down in front of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and the companions in Medina. So he said, "Man sanna fil Islami sunnatan hasana, fa alayhi ajruha wa ajru man amila biha min ba'dihi." He said, whoever does a good sunnah in Islam, then he will receive the reward of him doing it himself and everybody who follows him in doing that sunnah as well. Another time when the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ wanted to send an expedition to Tabuk, what did he do? He called out to the companions. He says, we need people to fund this expedition. Uthman stood up 3 times and donated. And he gave 100 camels. with their loads. Second time, 100 camels with their loads. Third time, 100 camels with their loads. So fundraising, we should not think that our masajid are run and our bills are paid just with the barakah of Allah. We just, make dua, Allah, and the bills are paid. This is a foreign ideology which has nothing to do with Islam. Of course, we knock on the door, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first, but there are asbab. There are what means which make these things happen. Okay? And not to get off track, but the imam, he should be the most highest paid individual in the community. And unfortunately, many of our communities throughout the United States don't have imams because their imams aren't given the right respect, the right honor, and the right salary. The imam should be the most valuable individual in the community, most respected individual in the community. So, finances is something, and imagine, an imam whose salary is $2,000 a month. Do you think that he's going to like to come to the masjid and pray and give khutbahs and do durus and do dawah and do all of these things while he has a family at home and his rent is $1,000 and he has 3 kids? He has $300 left at the end of the month to put in his pocket. You think he's going to love doing what he's doing, or he's going to have another job? He's probably going to have 2 other jobs. Maybe he's driving Uber. Maybe he's got another job at the side doing UPS at night or something like this to make up. And all of that takes away from his production that he can be doing in the masjid, teaching kids Quran, reviewing Arabic books that he's memorized and things like this. So finances is very important for giving dawah. The more we make our imams and our religious leaders in our communities happy, the more productive we'll see dawah in our communities going. So some of the things that we need to do, we need to think out of the box. We need to think out of the box because the way that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and the techniques that he used and the wasa'il that he used to give dawah were excellent. And we should use them as well. But there's also other things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us in our day and time that we should utilize that weren't available during the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, such as what? Social media, such as cell phones, such as they even had something similar to billboards in the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What would they do? How would, when the people used to come to Mecca to do pilgrimage around to come to Mecca and make tawaf around the Kaaba, but they were worshipping their idols and things like this. Fi asr al-jahili. What did they used to hang on the Kaaba? Huh? Poetry, right? Al-mu'allaqat. What are the mu'allaqat? They're poetry from the pre-Islamic time that they used to hang on the Kaaba. The tribes used to compete against each other, right? Bragging about their tribe is better than this tribe, and then they would, whoever would win a lot of times, they would hang the most famous poem up on the Kaaba. So everybody who came and made tawaf, what would they do? They would be making their tawaf, right, to these idols and things like this, and they would also be what? Reading the poetry, memorizing the poetry, and then taking it back to the people. That's how some of the poetry of the Arabs spread during the Prophet Muhammad sometimes. So a similar concept to what? To what we have like billboards. If you have a billboard right here on the masjid grounds, for example, and somebody goes this way to work every day, that's how many days out of the year?
365.
I mean, that's if they work on weekends too, you know what I mean? 365 times a year they're seeing the sign. Islam is peace. Islam is justice. Islam is submission to Allah. Don't you think that that's going to have effect on the way he's thinking? Of course. Then when he sees Fox Media, he sees CNN, he says, no, that's garbage. I don't believe that. You know, that sign right there, I see that every day. This is actually going to affect his behavior, affect his psyche. This is called what? Subliminal messaging. Okay? This is what they do to us. Okay? This is why when they keep showing these bearded men on TV and cutting off heads and violence and things like this, subliminal messaging. Whenever you see an old Arabic movie, you see the bum or the poor guy, he looks like, an imam. He has a thoban and he has a beard and he's laying on the street or he's stealing or something like that. Oh, subliminal messaging. Okay? So we need to use the same thing. Okay? So reformatting our understanding of dawah. That's what we need to do. Okay? Our dawah needs to be taken to another level. We're living in the year 2018. Printed dawah through brochures, articles, booklets, also online, web pages, websites, blogs, audio lectures, okay, small tidbits of information. You can send text messages to your smartphones, online video, electronic, all of these things, okay? So impact and retention of media, print media. An average person, when he reads any material, he remembers approximately 10% of what he has read. Okay? Audio, an average person, when he hears any message, he remembers approximately 20% of what he has heard. So what is the best? Video. Okay? When somebody watches a video, they retain about 50% of what they have seen or what they have heard. Why? Because they're engaging many of their senses. Their hearing, their sight, right? Their intuition, their thinking, they're following along the video. So the means that we need to use to give dawah are those which engage the people's faculties the most. Okay? So what are some ways that we can give dawah? Right? Magazines. Print out magazines. Okay? I remember 20 years ago, right, you had a lot of communities were very active in printing magazines, printing regular newspapers, newsletters even, right? A lot of masajid had their own newsletters, okay? Bill advertisements. Maybe there's some brothers in the community, they have real estate companies. Anybody who owns real estate or has a real estate company or property management company? When you give your tenant a bill, it has your information, the address, maybe put something, a little slogan, worship the creator, not the creation. Or learn more about the one who created you. And then a little link to a website. All of these things, you never know. You never know what sparks somebody's attention, right? Yeah.
Like, these things right here are done on like this approach needs to be done more on a macro level, Islamic level. Is there some kind of national convention or committee where these things are like discussed so that it can be done on a larger scale? Because I mean, I know you have to take baby steps, but it has to be organized and it's very constructive. But it has to be,
Organized and unified.
It's the best concept I've heard of respect to Islam. I'm glad to hear it, but this has to be like on a more institutional
macro scale, yeah. So the brother asked, he's asking, are these things that we're talking about today on a macro level, a micro level, and how can we actually get it to that level? We have to start off baby steps first. I mean, alhamdulillah, there's many Islamic, I guess you could say dawah organizations in America. You have Why Islam, you have Discover Islam, you have, Islam QA. Discover Islam, I think, is one. Peace, what is it, out of Chicago?
Peace TV.
Peace, Islam, Peace, or something like that. No, it's a dawah organization. So there's many dawah organizations, but according to my knowledge, they're not all unified. They may be all doing, the same things, the same brochures, the same concepts, billboards, and things like this. But there are slight differences, and it would be very, beneficial if all of them were to collaborate and all of them were to get together. There was a conference that took place, I think, about a month ago in New Jersey. It was called Dawah Revolution. Dawah Revolution, where about 4 or 5 or 6 organizations, Dawah organizations, actually got together and they did different workshops on how to train people, how to give Dawah. So, no doubt, it's the most beneficial to do on a big level like that. But it just needs the willpower, it needs the manpower, it needs the finances and things like that. My whole thing about starting it locally in Hagerstown was that, I felt the need that somebody needs to do something. And I took the initiative, instead of waiting for other people to do something and things like this, I said, I'm just gonna do it. And you know, I didn't even have a place. Like when we opened up the food pantry, I didn't even have a place. But I talked to one brother. I was like, look, this is my idea. I want to do it. He's like, okay, Hans, I got a place for you. Gave it to me right from Allah. So then you think like it's so complicated. Okay, food pantry. Oh, I gotta make this list of food and everything, and you know, how much did we intake? How much are we giving out and things like that. It's not that difficult. Once you start, if you've never done it, you learn while you are going. A lot of times we hesitate to do things because what? Because we're worried we don't have a plan, we don't have a thing like this, right? Of course, if you have a plan and a strategy, that's the best thing. Some people might have a rough strategy, a general strategy, but they don't have it detailed to every fine detail. That's how kind of this organization came about. I had a general idea and I didn't know exactly what to do until I got into it and started experiencing. See people, poor people coming in. What do you need? How can I help you? You know, they need food, they need shelter, they need this, they need medicine, they need clothes, things like that. You get to interact and actually socialize with the people, the needy people of your community. Then you learn more. Like, okay, now we need to make intake forms. Now we need to, you know, give the people letters, whoever donated, so they can get a, you know, a tax deduction and things like that. So you learn as time goes by. But it would be great if, you know, Durham could have something unified amongst the masajid and things like that, a unified dawah effort, inshallah. Sister, I'm going to take your question. I just want to go through a couple more slides, inshallah. Can you write it down? You're not going to forget, inshallah, right? Inshallah. So catchy slogans on t-shirts, mashallah. The Imam, he just showed me, mashallah, he designed a t-shirt, right? Design a t-shirt online, wear a t-shirt at school, wear a t-shirt when you're playing soccer, wear a t-shirt walking down the street or something like that. Catch somebody's attention. These are all ways that we can give dawah. All ways that we can get stickers, okay? Bumper stickers on cars, right? What you want to do, you want to spark somebody's curiosity and then send them to somewhere else where they can find more information about Islam, to our website. That was our idea. When we started putting up billboards, we put up the billboard, give them a tidbit. You know, like one billboard we put up, the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Khayrukum li ahli wa ana khayrukum li ahli." The best of you are those who are kindest to their families. Visit the website, phone number, khalas, free Quran, they call. Postcards, okay? Giving out postcards, mail, using the U.S. Postal Service. They have actually permits that you can get as a non-profit organization to do bulk mailing, and it's a third of the price that you pay for a regular stamp. Print out 500 postcards about, you know, be happy, have a happy life. On the back you have a website. Come to this website, learn more about Islam. Visit us at Masjid Ibad al-Rahman on Friday night. Postcard. Don't we get postcards in the mail all the time? Advertisements, 50% off, 20% off. Why can't we do that to give dawah? Okay? So the final part, okay, technology that we need to utilize in giving dawah. Social media. Social media, it has its pros, its cons, its advantages, disadvantages. But if you use it for dawah, alhamdulillah, there's so much barakah and so many opportunities in doing it. So Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, Instagram, all of these things, websites, web pages, web blogs, building up a contact list too. Like I said, you guys have a food pantry. There should be a sheet, some type of form made that any recipient who comes to the food pantry, you get their information. You get their name, you get their number, get their email, so you can contact them. Call them, send them a text, say, hey, Friday night, October 30th, we're having a dinner and a short lecture about Islam. Please join us. And then after that, everybody gets 2 bags of free food. Nobody denies free food, right? But give them a 15-minute lecture about Islam. Don't leave them with just the physical nourishment. Give them the spiritual nourishment as well. Producing, this is on a higher level, a macro level, where we need to be thinking now, right? Muslim-owned TV stations. Or even renting out time. In Connecticut, the masjid in Connecticut, one of the masajid in Connecticut actually had an allotted time on a weekly basis where they would go and do an hour-long program. called Introduction to Islam. The public, you know, what is it, PBS, the Public Broadcasting Station, the local station. People who have connections with the media, people who have connections with these type of people, go visit them. Go to them and say, look, we have a community here of Muslims, the Muslim community, and Durham is how big? 10,000, 20,000? I don't know. 300,000? Wow. That's amazing. So you go to the media. What's the worst they can say? No. Right? But somebody needs to take the initiative. Go to the media and say, look, we want to give, we'll even pay for it. You know? We'll pay, or we'll buy time once a month or twice a month, time where we can have a qualified speaker come and talk about Islam. Do a lecture series called Introduction to Islam, and we will also open it up for questions and answers at the end of the session. Right? Movies. How many people are in IT? How many people can design movies and cartoons and things like this? Make Islamic cartoons that show the youth good etiquettes and good manners and good morals of Islam and things like this. They're being bombarded. If they go to public school, they're being bombarded by cartoons which are filled with all types of things that are un-Islamic. So we need to produce Islamic cartoons, right? Islamic series, movies, videos, right? Audio outlets, okay? What are some other ways, okay, we can use technology in dawah? Study e-marketing. So basically, dawah, what I have done, alhamdulillah, when we formed this organization, MACD, I actually sat with a brother. He is a business tycoon, I guess you can say. He has a master's degree in business management, business administration. So we were sitting down and we were saying, you know, what can we do? You know, we looked at our community. We said, alhamdulillah, the masjid is excellent. The masjid is perfect. Alhamdulillah, all the uncles worked so hard to build the community and build the masjid and things like this. But we think that they've reached their, you know, that age where, you know, khalas, they want to, you know, focus more on their families now and focus more on their ibadah and things like this, where we have to take what they have done and build upon that and take it to the next level, right? The elders, alhamdulillah, they did their job. They built our masajid. Alhamdulillah, they gave us a place to pray. Now we don't have to worry about a place to pray. But the youth now should be taking the torch from them, and they should be the ones giving the dawah, the ones who are, you know, in their late teens, up to 30 years old, right? 40 years old, the ones who have the time and have the ability to do so. These are the ones who should be out there in the forefront giving dawah. Giving dawah. So when I met with this brother, he's a specialist in business administration. He says, well, we need to use some of the same techniques that they use in marketing and advertising and use it for dawah. Why not? What is the problem with that? There's nothing wrong, you know? So alhamdulillah. So applying some of those techniques to inviting others to Islam, right? Subliminal messaging, you said, right? Somebody sees something 365 times a day, it's going to change their way of thinking, right? If somebody sees an auto-suggestion, right? Same thing, right? These are all things that you study in what branch of knowledge? Psychology, I believe, okay? Where how do billboards, how do these big corporations and companies use billboards to make us, to make this consumer society thrive?
Behavioral science.
Consumerism. What is consumerism? Consumerism is the idea of thinking that you always need something new, that what you have isn't good enough. The iPhone 1 came out. iPhone 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, X. Whoever bought the iPhone 1, they probably got the iPhone X now, and they probably got all the older models with them. Why? Did you think you needed to get a new one? Because all these billboards, all these advertisements, all of these things telling you that what you have is not sufficient, that you need something new. So why don't we use these same techniques and tell people about Islam? They need something new. Look at all the problems and difficulties that they're going through in their lives, right? Depression, suicide, drugs, recidivism, and the list goes on and on. Relations out of wedlock, right? Cheating on their spouses. They need something to change. Those who want to change, they need an alternative. So we need to give them these alternatives, okay? So, some techniques in using technology. Flood the internet, okay? Websites, social media, audio, with correct, authentic Islamic information. Google AdWords. You know about Google AdWords? Any IT professionals here? Google, how does that work? Google AdWords.
I can't really remember. I've used it, but it's getting remember it's been a while.
Yeah, you pay for so much advertisement, and when somebody clicks on for your advertisement, you pay per click.
Okay. So one of these techniques that we use, which is very beneficial for brothers who want to get involved in dawah or want to direct people to their website. Well, you know when you go to Google, you type in anything on Google, you're looking for what? For example, Islamic clothing, for example. You click in, you type in Islamic clothing on Google, and then all of these results come out, 10 results or something, or 20, and then it's 5 pages, 10 pages like this, okay? Google AdWords, you can actually program, okay, certain words that you want your organization to come up when somebody searches for those words. So for example, if somebody in your area, in your locale, let's say Durham, North Carolina, they're looking for Islam. So when they type in Islam, you have, right, Islam, you have a website, Islam Web, or Islam Q&A. And then maybe you have Masjid Ibad al-Rahman. Then you have Masjid, what is another Masjid? Al-Razaq or something I saw? Masjid Al-Razaq. Another masjid, what is it? Tawheed wa Sunnah, for example. Right? So you can actually program Google and rent space on Google that when somebody types in your area, like for example, Quran, that the first thing that comes up is Masjid Ibad al-Rahman. They type in Quran and the first result they have is Masjid Ibad al-Rahman, and it says right next to it, free Quran, call this number. Okay? So there's so much technology that we can use. Next thing, renting billboards in your neighborhoods. Billboards are all over the place. Even building a billboard. For those who are investors and those who want to get into an investment, build a billboard. Find an area here or anywhere in Durham, you build a billboard for whatever it is, $20,000, $10,000, two-sided billboard. You rent out one side for $1,000 a month, and you keep another billboard about Islam, directing them to your website, directing them to the masjid website, where they're learning about Islam and being, directed to an Islamic website or an Islamic place or a phone number where they can have their questions answered. So then it becomes self-sufficient. Then you don't have to worry about it, because one side is paying for the maintenance of it, lighting and things like that. It's paying for itself. These are the type of things, these are the levels we need to be thinking at, like awqaf, endowments, right? Eventually, hopefully, our masajid can establish endowments where they're self-supportive and they won't have to be dependent upon donations, okay? Where they maintain themselves, okay?
Yeah, I'm saying in a lot of cities, you can buy a lot for that kind of money for less than $5,000.
There you go.
Then put your billboard
For
on
your
it.
billboard, buy a lot.
I don't have to pay rent to nobody.
There you go. Buy a lot, $10,000. Even like some brothers, like I don't know, in the downtown area, they might have buildings. See if you can put I don't know what the city ordinances are, but there might be some brothers who know. Put a billboard on top of the building. All right, go to New York City or New Jersey, the big city. They got billboards on the side of their buildings, go to Times Square, they got them on in the front of the buildings, right? On top of the buildings, right? Okay? And you'll find, subhanAllah, don't think that these things are so simple. It's just we're thinking out of the box, right? And ways to give dawah. And you'll find that when you call these advertising companies, that many times they'll give non-profit organizations a discount. If they know you're a non-profit and you're giving a public message, like for example, you tell them the hadith of the Prophet, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you put on a billboard. The hadith we mentioned in the khutbah today. ليس المؤمن الذي يشبع وجاره جائع كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. That the believer is not the true Muslim believer is not the one who fills his stomach while his neighbor is hungry. or a hadith, about the importance of taking care of orphans, or importance of taking care of widows. These type of things to spark people's curiosity, to dispel some of the doubts and misconceptions that they've been fed. Right? Then they click, oh, what's that phone number? Oh, let me call that number. I'm interested. Here's a free Quran. Here's a book about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? And purchasing mailing lists. Right? Same business techniques. Any brothers have a startup business, new businesses, things like that? Right? Online businesses. One of the most important things that you can do in the beginning is building your contact list. So you can send out what? Emails to advertise and market your product. Same thing, postcards. Or you send, sometimes these mailing lists even have emails. You send them emails. Masjid Ibadur Rahman invites you to an open house and a dinner with our community. Learn more about Islam with a free gift. Maybe a bag of candy or a rose or something with a Quran or something. Right? So all things thinking out of the box, okay? So I don't want to take too much of your time. Okay, we went overboard. We went over the 15 minutes, right? The Muslim 15 minutes. Alhamdulillah. But social services is a big aspect, okay, that we haven't been focusing on. Because Islam, we have to get away from the secular approach or secular view of Islam. That Islam is just, it's Islam. And Islam is just in the masjid, right? Or the separation between religion and state. Islam is everything. When the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he would judge between two people and arbitrate between two people who had disputes where? In the masjid. He didn't have a court. He had the masjid. The kids, during the Eid, they would come into the masjid and play. Okay? The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ would meet delegates from other countries, people who were traveling, people from Najran who were not even Muslims, and come and they would meet them where? In the masjid. So social services is a big, right? A big field which many of our communities haven't touched. Now they're just scratching the surface of it now with food pantries and things like this, okay? One thing that we can provide and our community should provide is what? Pre-marriage counseling. We have many brothers and sisters in our communities. They want to get married. I want to get married. Imam, marry me. I met this girl. I don't want to do it the haram way. I want to do it the halal way. Marry me. But do we have any pre-marriage counseling? Is the imam even trained to give counseling? That's a whole other question right there. Imam may be trained to give fatwa, read Quran, teach Arabic, but psychology and dealing with people's mental problems and things like this, we need specialized individuals in our community to handle those problems. Okay? Divorce, spousal abuse, child abuse, domestic violence, women's shelters. What have we done for our women, our mothers, our aunts, our grandmothers? Maybe they're divorced, maybe they're widowed. You're busy now with your family, with your kids. You don't have the ability to be there at your mother's side all day, all night. What do we do? What do we have for them? Think about building a shelter for them. Like a retirement home for Muslim women. Retirement home for Muslim men and women. The elderly. They can, alhamdulillah, right there. You build a building right there, alhamdulillah. They can spend their last days coming back and forth to the masjid. The best place for them. Alhamdulillah. I'm going to get your question. There's a sister who left. I want to take her question before she leaves. Support services, so halfway houses. I mentioned earlier, a lot of our brothers who go into prison, they accept Islam in prison, then they come out. But many times they don't find the support from the community. A lot of times they're shunned from the community. Oh, he was in prison, stay away from him. Sometimes some communities even build another masjid or musalla to keep those brothers away from the greater community in the area. Okay? So why don't we think about building halfway houses for Muslims? Muslim curriculum. Just how you have these Christian halfway houses or whatever halfway houses, you have to go to Bible study. Well, we have the same thing, but you have to go to Quran study. You have to go to Islamic manners and etiquette study. You have to go to Hadith study. Homeless shelters. Alhamdulillah, you guys have a food pantry. Why not a homeless shelter? You said you could buy a lot here for $10,000, $20,000. I'm sure you can find a building somewhere for $40,000, an old warehouse. Turn it into a homeless shelter. Get 50 beds. Homeless shelter. Muslim homeless shelter. Well, I mean, I'm rough, you know. Muslim homeless shelter. Right?
Well, the idea would be.
What do they do in some churches? What do they do in the winter? A lot of the churches, they're abandoned now. A lot of the churches, they're abandoned. Christians are, you know, moving away from their faith. Right? In general, the American people, they're irreligious. A lot of them, the majority of them now, yeah.
Just to add, the idea would be not that they're particularly for Muslims, but it's run by the
Muslims and has
for
Muslim
the-
curriculum open for
the
anybody
community,
who wants
for
to
the
do it.
community,
No.
for the
That's
community.
what I'm talking about.
Yes.
You have but they have to abide by Muslim rules. That's the thing. You know,
Right.
it's like you can't have a girlfriend in there. You can't bring in drugs. You can't bring in alcohol. You have to attend these classes. We keep it open for everybody, but we have Muslim curriculum and Muslim guides and managers, right? Skills development, job training. Why don't we have this in the masjid? Haram? Masjid isn't just for teaching deen. Our masajid in America, we have to get out of the concept of, you know, that overseas, I call it, right? The uncle mentality. Where our masajid are only for reading Quran and praying. And that's it. And then the doors are closed and khalas. Our masajid in America are different. They're more similar to how they were in the time of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ here in America. They're social community centers. Where do we get to see our brothers and sisters? Here in the masjid. Right? Where do we get to conversate? Where do the sisters get to conversate and release some of their stress that they've been going through at home with the kids and things like that, and conversate with their sisters and stuff? Here in the masjid. Where do the brothers get to help each other and talk about things that they're doing, projects and things like this? In the masjid. So we also should try to provide other services as well. English classes for brothers who, you know, are just coming over here to America to start working. They don't have English. Brothers who know English should set a time once a week, twice a week to teach them English. Arabic classes. Brothers who know Arabic should sit down with brothers who don't know Arabic and teach them Arabic. Okay? These are how the bonds of brotherhood and sisterhood and the ties become stronger and the community becomes closer and we get to love one another more and more. So many other things, food pantries, soup kitchens, Islamic education and mentoring. So we'll stop with that. And finally, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ. So the main thing about da'wah and how to give da'wah is to work together upon righteousness and piety and have a unified message, a unified goal, a unified vision, a short-term vision, a long-term vision for our youth. What are our kids going to be doing in 10, 15 years? We want them to be able to be educated properly, to be strong, and to have, right, a good foundation where they can carry the torch of what we've done and what we've left behind them so they can take it to their next generation, excuse me. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of us and bless all of you. And we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us the opportunity to share this with you this evening. And secondly, we thank the community here and the administration for hosting me. And inshallah, I hope that it's a very beneficial weekend.
About the assistant's question.
She left. Yeah,
Oh,
she's
she
still
left?
there. Sister, if you're here, we'd like to take your question. We'll take 2 questions, inshallah, from the audience, and then we'll go. It's getting kind of late, and we're going to be here for Fajr, inshallah. So we hope that everybody comes and joins us tomorrow, bi'idhnillah, for the programs. We're going to be talking about ikhlas, the importance of sincerity, the importance of the prayer, which is the most important pillar after the shahada in Islam, the shurut, the wajibat, the arkan, the sunan. And then we're going to talk about some mistakes that some of us may fall into in the prayer, and that will be on Sunday. Inshallah, that will be on Sunday. So, Jazakallah khair wa barakallahu feek. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.